Well, I guess when new people are coming, I have to start all over again. Doesn't matter. I always say the same things, just with different words. This tradition here is the forest tradition, the Thai forest tradition, founded by Thanachen Man and Luang Pu Sao. Thanachen Mahaprabhu himself was a very close disciple of Ajahn Man. And he tried to run this monastery in the way that Thanachen Man was teaching. At the time of Thanachen Man, there weren't too many monasteries. The bhikkhus were going out and in groups of 2 or 3 or just by themselves to practice. And Thanachen Man was never fond of staying at one monastery. He never founded one. He never wanted to be head of a monastery. So the original Thai forest tradition is the forest tradition of the wandering monks. But there have been some difficulties in Thailand where monks were not able to stay anymore in the forest, and 50 years ago that's where all this forest monastery developed. And Thanachen Mahaprabhu founded it here, right next door to his mother, where he was born. The Thai forest monastery, or the Thai forest tradition, is a reviving of the Buddhist tradition. Normally here in Thailand it's a Theravada tradition. Theravada means the teaching of the elder. And what happens in this Theravada tradition, or what is the main key of this Theravada tradition, is that it keeps the rules. All the rules and all the customs that were announced by the Buddha, or he so kindly gave his followers, his disciples. So the rules that we follow are the rules that the Lord Buddha laid down 2,500 years ago. And nobody dared to change any of them. That's, of course, in the eyes of other people, it's not modern. But in the eyes of us who follow the tradition, it's the way as it has been taught by the Lord Buddha, and it's the way that leads to Nibbana. And that is the main principle, that's the main concept, that's our main idea, and that's our main goal. If you don't want to go to Nibbana, there are many places where we can go. If you want to find the way to Nibbana, then I would say that the forest tradition here in Thailand, with other tradition maybe in Burma, are the top traditions that still go the path and still find the path and still produce what is called arahant. About Burma, I'm not sure. It used to be, at the time of Luang Pu Man, it certainly used to be. Also in Laos, it used to be. In Cambodia as well. But nowadays, I don't know. That's about 50, 60, 70 years ago. And even here in Thailand, it's difficult. So if you imagine that it is difficult in Thailand already, it will be difficult in other states as well. Time changes. the modern society comes and sweeps all over the globe. And with modern society comes the modern comfort, the modern laziness, and that's the end of the practice. At the time of Ajahn Mun, when he was starting practicing, or even Ajahn Mahabua, he just had enough in his bowl to get by with. There were hardly any medicines that he could use. There was just, most of the time, a bowl full of rice. If he was lucky, there were some pricks, that means pepperonis or maybe fish sauce or something like that. Now we have everything. We have coffee, chocolate, cheese, whatever. We have digital entertainment and so on and so on. So where is the need to go to Nibbana? There's no need. These things, so they are comfortable for our body, and when I talk about the body, I also talk about the senses. Comfortable for our senses. We see things that are pleasing, we hear things that are pleasing, we taste things that are pleasing, and so on and so on. And if you don't like it, we just go to another place to get it there. And that's where the whole problem starts. We don't like it here, so we go to another place. We like it there for a little while, and then we go to another place. Then we like it there, and go to another place. In the end, we have not achieved anything. If you cannot put up with the difficulties here, where are we able to put up? I would say here it's an extremely perfect place for practicing. And the difficulties that we are facing, especially also in the women area, are difficulties that we have to overcome. As long as Ajahn Mahabua has a reign over this monastery, it's a place where we can feel safe and where we can feel guided within our practice. Even if he doesn't talk to us, even talk to us personally, he still oversees what is going on in the monastery. So facing the difficulties that come up with our practice is the most, in the beginning, and most difficult. This we don't like, that we don't like. This we want to change, that we want to change. And that's where we have to rein in. We have to rein in and say, like the monks, whatever is given to us, that's what we have. Whatever is provided for us, that's what we have. We cannot choose. We don't have the ability to choose. We are mendicants, we go on alms food, we go on alms round, and whatever we get in our bowl, that's what we have. And that's what we eat. If you have medicine, it's fine. If you don't have medicine, it's fine. If you have something to sleep on, it's nice. If you don't have it, it's nice as well. So when you come here as lay people, you try to live the life as the monks would. Everything in this monastery is provided free. The food is free, the lodging is free, and the Dhamma is free. There are no costs, not whatsoever. You can get even soap and toothbrush and toothpaste. So there's no need to go out. For us as monks, we don't have any need to go out. Go out where? Our chitta always goes out anyway. And when we are here, we are training it to go back into the center, to see the citta itself. Before we can go into our center, we have to curb it. We have to curb the mind, or we have to curb the heart. When I talk about mind and heart, it's one and the same thing, it's the citta. Sometimes it's more the aspect of the rational mind, and sometimes it's more the aspect of the emotional heart. So that's how I choose the word heart or mind. But it all refers to the same thing, it's the citta. The citta is that runs out and burns itself all the time, day in, day out, and night in. During the day we think and dream, we have ideas, we plan, we act. During the night we sleep and dream. So the citta is never at rest. The citta is never at peace. That's why in the first place we give it a place to rest. The place to rest is called Samadhi. And we have to do whatever we have to get it there. It's like taming a wild animal. It's like taming a wild elephant. First we have to catch it, then we have to put it to the pole, and then we have to tighten the rope so that it cannot escape. And the animal, this wild animal or the elephant, just stands for our mind that wants to go out and wandering here and wandering there, burning himself here and burning himself there. Getting restless, getting dissatisfied, getting afraid, getting worried, whatever. The moment we fix our attention or we fix the mind to the pole, there are no worries, there are no fears, there is no running out, and there is no burning outside. We can only stay at one thing. The mind, in comparison to computers, it's a single processing machine. It can only do one task at a time. And that is our whole hope. The mind has the same qualities. Though it's fast and we think we can do multiple things at the same time, it's still single processing. So we still can only do one thing at a time. We get fooled into being able to do many things at the same time, like reading, listening, and seeing. This is just done in the way of multitasking, as it's said in computer technology. Multitasking, that means one task gives a little attention and then the next task gets a little attention and the next task. So that it seems that it all works in parallel. But it does not work so. If we can get down to our mind, we will see that it just does one thing at the time. But it does it at the speed of light. And that's where the problem starts. And that's where our effort comes in. The effort of mindfulness, the effort of awareness, the effort of always pulling the mind back to the point of attention. Now for Samadhi, the point of attention is either the mental repetition of the word Buddha or staying at the tip of the nose and observing the breath coming in and observing the breath going out. We don't go anywhere else with our concentration. The tip of the nose, that's where the feeling of the breath coming in and breath coming out is the most prominent. We do not follow the breath. We do not watch the breath anywhere else. We just watch it at the tip of the nose. Also for Westerners it's much more convenient to use the mental repetition of the word Buddha because that stops thinking, that stops the thing that we are trained from our youth. So just the mental repetition of the word Buddha stops all this activity. But I leave it up to you, whatever is suitable, whatever gets you down to concentration, that's what you want to use. So you use either Buddha, and you fix your attention on the Buddha, and observe the changes in the Buddha, and stick to it. Stick to it from the time you open your eyes until the time you close your eyes. There is no activity during the day in this monastery where you cannot put your attention on the word Buddha. Even while you're eating, you can mentally repeat Buddha. That will slow down your eating as a side effect. And make you a little bit more aware of what you stuff in your mouth, and maybe more aware of what comes out of your anus. So awareness, mindfulness, in Pali it's sati, is the key. It's the fundament of our practice. If you don't have awareness, if you don't have mindfulness, we just don't realize what we are doing. Awareness and mindfulness is not self-consciousness. We can be very self-conscious, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but we have no awareness at all. We can be self-conscious walking, I'm walking, but we have no awareness. We just think I'm walking. Or I think how good am I walking, or how bad am I walking, or how mindful am I. This is just an illusion. This is not mindfulness. Mindfulness is aware of what is happening just right now at that moment. When we put our mindfulness on the breath, we know if the breath is coming in, if the breath is short, if the breath is long, if the breath is shallow, if the breath is deep. If the in-breath is longer, if the in-breath is shorter, if the out-breath is longer, or if the out-breath is shorter. That is called awareness. That is called mindfulness. And it's the same thing with the mental repetition of the word Buddha. We are aware if the Buddha repetition is fast, or if it's slow, if the Buddha is shallow, or if the Buddha is deep. If the Buddha becomes real, if the Buddha becomes the main object of our concentration, then the Buddha might be like a song in a cathedral, and the cathedral is our body. And that is so pleasing and so satisfying that we just don't want to do anything else. We stay with this repetition of the Buddha. But before to get there, we have to put a lot of effort, we have to put a lot of determination in this kind of practice. And the determination and the effort in our kind of practice is always the effort to pull our mind back to the object. That's where it has to stay. We have to tame that wild beast. We have to tame that mind. We cannot just let it run around. If we want to do that, then we don't need to come. We have done that all our life long. Our mind is running out here, running out there, running out for the sense fields, or running out for the body, or running out for our idea. And then it stays there for a short while, and then it comes back. And goes to another object, and goes to another object, and there's no end. So if we cannot train the mind to stay at one object, then our practice does not develop. So we have to do it. If you can stay at one object without interruption for 5 or 10 minutes, then we can put or use this sati or use this mindfulness for work. For work of investigation. Samadhi, or concentration, has two aspects. One aspect is to train the mind to stay on one object. This aspect we use later on for investigation. The other aspect, or the byproduct, it's more byproduct, is the peacefulness and happiness that we experience when the mind gets calm. There are three types of samadhi. It's khanika samadhi, that means momentary samadhi. It's upachara samadhi, that means access samadhi, and means appana samadhi, that means deep state of samadhi. A khanika samadhi is just going for a second or even less into the deep state of samadhi and then comes back. Most of the time it comes back into the form of upachara samadhi, access samadhi. If you haven't trained the mind yet, it might just not come there. Upachara samadhi is the state where all thought ceases, where the mind becomes quiet and concentrated and happy with itself. Upachara samadhi can be compared being in the rain and hail and storm and lightning and seeing a glass house, opening the door, entering the glass house, still seeing all these things, but being safe. The rain doesn't hit us, the lightning doesn't strike us, nothing strikes us. We are safe. So at the moment we open the door, we feel the safeness, but we have to close the door behind us. And then we stay on for a while in the safe place, and then we come back out. The moment we come back out, the storm and the lightning and the rain still will hit us again. That is called upachara samadhi, the state of a safe place, the state of a refuge. In upachara samadhi, a lot of other things can happen. But at the moment, we are not interested. Because once we enter the state of upachara samadhi, we try to perfect our samadhi to go down in the state of deep samadhi. Deep samadhi, appana samadhi. We want to go there to find or to experience for the first time what does it mean to be free. We want to experience for the first time what is Nibbana. Ranatha Mahabodha says about this deep state of samadhi that is a preview of Nibbana. So, it's a preview of Nibbana. Well, if we want to go to way to Nibbana, let's have a preview. Let's see what it is. What happens in the deep state of samadhi? Deep state of samadhi is concentration. Complete concentration. It is the observer and the point being observed, or the object being observed, becoming one. So we are beyond duality. Whatever we experience in the realm of duality or in this threefold universe that exists and we live in, ceases at this moment. So in our experiences, the first thing that will cease is our body. And the next thing that will cease is the whole world, or this whole universe. And all what is left is the knowingness of this. And this knowingness is a state of absolutely peace, of absolutely unification, because once we cross the border of duality, there is no more duality. we are one. We are back when we speak in terms of we have gone from our home, then we are back at home. We are not separated from our home anymore. And that's why it is a good help, or a motor, or an engine to drive us to the final goal of Nibbana. It's something, the experience of Appana Samadhi is something that most of us have never experienced it, and once they experience it, their only wish is to go back. And then they come out again, and they want to go back there. And that's all what they want. Because it's so complete in itself. There is nothing lacking. And that is called, and you can call it a wonder, or you will feel like it is an amazing state. It's a wondrous state. This gives us the motivation to go on the path. And that's why I suggested that we try. But in order to get there, we need to bring our mind to complete motionlessness. We cannot allow it to go wandering here and wandering there and wandering. We cannot. Even when we are in the state of Upachara Samadhi, we cannot let it wandering off to experience all the things that happen there. We have to still tie it firmly to the rope. Tie the rope firmly to the pole until the observer and the object becomes one. So any kind of disturbances that we have during the day will throw us back. When we do this Appana Samadhi, any kind of disturbance, any kind of talk, any kind of interaction will throw us back. So to be able to experience this Appana Samadhi, we have to completely detach ourselves from our surroundings. Completely detach ourselves from the world. Upachara Samadhi is not so difficult to reach. So within one week or 2 weeks we should be able to go. But also for the beginning we just have to let the world be. The world does exist. If we notice it or don't notice it, it's the same thing. The world just goes on. If we know it or don't know it, the world just still goes on. The countries are at war, if we want it or not, they still be at war. The volcanoes erupt, if we want it or not, if we know it or not, they still erupt. So when we are here, we have the protection of this monastery to stay here and not know of what is going on in this world. Not even know what is going on around us. What is he doing? What is she doing? What are they doing? What is she saying? What is she thinking? What are they thinking? What is he thinking? We just don't care. It helps us get our concentration firmly developed. And concentration needs, in the beginning stages, needs to be developed. Otherwise, if you're pulled by this or pulled by that, there is no rest. There is no end to it. So I hope you understand it, and you understand that we don't have to push our meditation word or to push the concentration. Our whole effort goes only into this little task. The moment we notice the mind goes off, just to pull it back and put it back to the right object. It doesn't need a lot of force. If it doesn't want to go, then we can use a little bit of force for a while. But then we have to let go. Otherwise it creates some bad side effects. Some people just get headache and then they stop. It's another way of the kilesas to pull us in the wrong direction. So, determination, of course, is important. When we sit down for meditation, then we sit down. When we say we do an hour, then we do an hour. And we don't do less. When we do 2 hours, then we do 2 hours. And whatever may come. And if it's our own death that comes, then just sit on. The death is just an idea. Or have you seen yourself sitting for 3 hours in the car, or riding a train, or going on an airplane? You sit for 11 hours and you don't die. But when you sit in meditation for 1.5 hours, you die. Or this leg breaks, or this back breaks, or this things, everything can happen. But when you sit and go for pleasure on a plane, sit there for 11 hours or 12 hours, you don't even mind it. So just think about this. That's where our determination. Just face whatever comes. And deal with it, in a wise manner, or in a skillful manner. Just tell yourself, if you think you break up, well, I was on the plane, from Germany it's 7 hours, from Malaysia it's maybe 2 hours, or I don't know. Or you were in the train for 12 hours, or whatever. You didn't break, you're still alive. And you will be amazed, even after sitting for 3 or 6 hours, you will be still alive. Even if you think otherwise. The thinking otherwise is the forces of the kilesas, and that is one thing that I have to explain, or that I will explain in more detail in the coming sessions. So for the moment, we just concentrate on the Samadhi. We just concentrate on the development of mindfulness, on concentration. And of course, as a side product, we get the peacefulness and happiness of the state of Samadhi. This is one part of the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the Fourth Noble Truth that tells us the way that leads to the end of all dukkha. Another one, and now we have to talk about hell and heaven, is the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are part of the path. The 5 precepts the Lord Buddha kindly gave to the people to protect them not to fall down to the lower realms. It's there for our protection. It's not there for taking away things from us. So the 5 precepts, the precepts of training oneself not to kill or to harm any living being, not to take what is not given, it's the second. Not to lie or use harsh words or false speech. Not to indulge into sexual misconduct. And not to take alcohol or drugs that reduce the mind. These are the 5 precepts. Once we live the 5 precepts, once we really determined to take them on, and whenever we are mindful and we keep them, then we can call ourselves a true human being. If we do not keep them, we cannot call ourselves a human being. And it's the same thing. And I want that to remember very well. The 5 precepts are our birthright to become human beings. If we do not follow them, if we do not keep them, we lose our right to be born as a human being. And the level of the human being is pretty low. What is lower are the animal realms, are the ghost realm, the demon realms, and the hell realms. So if we do not keep at least the 5 precepts, that's where we go. There is no doubt about it. We've been there, that's why we are so afraid of it. We all have been in hell, and not only one time. We've been there for longer or shorter. I myself been there. Everybody has been. So we know it. And it's not a nice place, and that's why I'm so afraid to go back there. So the protection for us is to keep the 5 precepts. And it's also part of the Eightfold Path. It's a path that leads out to the end of all to come. And the third one is investigation. Is wisdom? Dhamma. So when I talk about the Eightfold Path, I only talk about Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. Sila is the 5 precepts, Samadhi is concentration and mindfulness, and Panya is wisdom. Wisdom is developed by investigation. Now a small prerequisite for going on this path, or for going on the path of practice, are 3 requirements. Generosity, respect, and gratitude. If we would not have developed these 3 prerequisites to a certain measure, we would not be able to stay here. We would not be able to find the way to this monastery. To be able to stay here and to get everything for free. So we must have developed it to a certain measure. The measure determines how long we can stay here, how much we gain from here. So, when I say that we have developed it, that doesn't mean that we should not develop them further to an even higher level. Generosity is the ability of letting go of material things. When we start the way of practice, we have to develop the ability of letting go not only of material things, but of our own self. That means things that are much more harder to give away, to let go of, than material things. So if we still stick to material things, if we still have problems to give away material things, then we will have extremely problems on the path of purification. To give away ourselves. And that includes especially our ideas, our concepts, our views and opinions. This is the hardest to get let go of. So, generosity in this respect is a prerequisite for going on the path. Gratitude, whatever we receive, we are happy about. Even what we receive is not pleasant. We are happy about that we receive it in a time where we can receive it without anger, without greed. That's why we're happy about it. Normally, when we receive unpleasant things, we immediately react with anger or greed or hate. Now we train ourselves and are happy whatever we receive is that what receives, what guides us on the way. So we take a second step or a second look at whatever comes to us and ask ourselves, what can we learn from this? How can we take it in a proper way? How can we take it in a skillful way to make something out of it? And even if we can't think about something to make out of it or to make profit of, then at least we can say to ourselves, this kind of karma has passed without our reaction, without making it worse. That's also good. Gratitude, it's not only gratitude to our karma that we receive, it's gratitude to our parents that have brought us up for 16 or 18 years, have done everything, have sacrificed their own lives for bringing us up, for helping us, for education. Gratitude towards the parents, gratitude towards the worldly teachers and the spiritual teachers. Because all of them, the parents and the teachers, the spiritual teachers and the worldly teachers, try to make us live in this world as most uncomplicated as possible. Try to educate it so to live at ease with the world. This is gratitude. And respect for the parents, respect for the teachers, and respect for the worldly or for the spiritual teachers. Without respect, where can we go? Without respect, we won't listen, we don't follow. We know that. If I think myself cleverer than others, I won't listen to others. So I need a certain respect to listen. And a certain respect to follow, if I agree with what the other person says. But if I always think of myself being cleverer, being smarter, or being more accomplished than others, I will not listen. We cannot only learn from people who are more developed, we also can learn from people who are less developed. Everybody has different characteristic tendencies, and every person has something that we can learn. A quality that we have not acquired. Even if he's 99%, bad, or, we call it bad, there's 1% that is good. That's why we can have respect for all human beings, no matter what they do. Having respect for other beings means having respect for oneself. If we cannot respect other beings, we cannot respect ourselves. If we are not grateful to other beings, we are not grateful to ourselves. If we are not generous to other people, we are not generous to ourselves. So these are the prerequisites to go on this path. Today mainly I talked about Samadhi, the development of Samadhi, and that for the beginning we should concentrate. Just get the mind still. Think about your life, you have to let it run, the mind run away for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It has never stopped working. Think about, as a comparison in the world, a person who has worked, for 20, 30 years without taking a break. So give yourself a break, give the mind a break, and put it to rest. Put it at least into the state of the Pachara Samadhi, where you can feel some peace and happiness and quietude. And then it's up to you. It's up to you how much effort you put in. The more effort you put in, the better the results. The more heart you put in, the better the result. If you do it wholeheartedly, the results will be wholeheartedly. If you do it half-heartedly, the results will be half-heartedly. So put in your heart. Put in the effort of always pulling the mind back, no matter what. The activities in this monastery, especially for you, are hardly any. So you can use mindfulness while waking up, while washing, while brushing your teeth, while dressing, while sweeping, and while eating. And the rest of the time is there for practice. You sit or you walk. You sit and walk. Don't get interested in what is going on around you. It still goes on. If you know it or don't know, it still will go on. So, and I guess that's a nice place. That's a nice phrase to end. So if there are any questions, then you can ask, but I think there are. Yes? You can combine it. Put with the breath in and toe with the breath out.
That means non-stop. How hard is it? Is Buddha or...
As I said, when you do Buddha meditation or when you concentrate on the breathing in and breathing out, once you start concentrating, the breath will change. The breath becomes deeper or it becomes more shallow. The in-breath becomes longer or the in-breath becomes shorter on itself. We are just there. We are not manipulating the breath, nor are we manipulating the word Buddha. The Buddha itself, once the mind gets quiet, it will calm down. And it becomes deeper. It's not so shallow. It's not so automatic. It becomes more meaning. But we can combine both the Buddha and the breathing.
Like walking or sitting or doing things, I thought we have to concentrate, mindfulness doing this thing. But if we have to repeat this and concentrate, just skip our...
Try it out. Have you tried it out?
No, not yet.
So,
how am I going to do it?
Well, you can do Buddha while you walk.
Yes,
Can't you? And you can do Buddha while you sweep. Can't you? And you can do Buddha while you eat.
We have to. I'm sorry. This is I'm trying to see how can I start with it because that is just mindfully putting the food in and repeat all the time.
Yeah.
Repeat all the time.
Yes.
So we have to concentrate on eating or repeat. I'm sorry, got one very confused.
Well, why don't you try it first? And then ask later. The experience comes with the trying.
Oh, non-stop.
Yeah, try it non-stop.
Non-stop.
Yes. And see how you fit in, and you see you can walk and can still be mindful of the Buddha. And you will be mindful when the Buddha switches away. That's why you have your mindfulness. It doesn't matter what we eat anyway. We need to get the body, the energy of the body. No talking. Well, if you don't, it's the best for you. If you don't talk, if you don't interact, it's the best, it's the fastest way to success. I encourage not to talk, not to read, to listen to talks of Tanachan or to listen to Dhamma desanas, that is fine. When one listens to Dhammadesanas that are on tapes or that are distributed on tapes, then one listens with its heart while one is still doing the meditation. That's the proper way. One always listens with its heart. And once the mind is firm on the Buddha will drop the same way in the heart as the breath drops into the heart. And then everything becomes easy. But of course, if you don't try it, we don't see. You just try it, in the beginning you just have to find your own ways. How to do. You try this, you try that, whatever works. You know the main principle, I explain the main principle, and that you have to make work for yourself. And the next time you can ask a question. If you have problems with this or with that, you can ask a question. So, more questions?
I came here actually through the book. You told us in English. And I wanted to ask if I could continue to read it because I had to give it back in the middle. Or if I should not read at all. But it was very, very inspiring about how to accomplish the
What book? Mm-hmm. When I say these things, I say it as a rule of thumb, a general rule. I say it because I have my reasons to say it, but if you find, if reading Arahatamaka or any other books of Tanachan is helpful to you, it's your decision. But for the practice, I say, for the practice of Samadhi, it's not helpful. To listen to his talks, but the talks you get here are mostly in Thai. Is another way, that is helpful. But the activity of reading and understanding and grasping the things with your mind is not helpful for the practice of Samadhi. It will be helpful for the practice of investigation. Certainly, yes. So, when I say these things, when I explain Dhamma, it's always rule of thumb. This is the general way. If you make an exception, you have to see, but for yourself, test it out. Does it bring you some good results? If it brings you some good results, then do it. Investigate of what you're doing, what you're thinking, and what you're speaking. What are the results on the heart? If they are good, if they lead to peacefulness and happiness, then go on doing it. If they lead to restlessness and discontent, then stop doing it.
I had this experience while reading. Sometimes it goes to the intellect, and then I cannot go into myself. I wanted to ask if I could have this book here.
Of course. The books, as long as they are, as long as we have them, we distribute
How
them.
can I get it?
If you see at Chandik in the morning, you can get it, or if I remember the next time, I can bring you one. Do you have the German book, Life of Inequality, Leben innerer Werte?
I wanted it in English because I prefer the translation in English. It's better than German. Also the to read it in English. I got it in English.